Universal Heritage Television Nigeria. My name is Afam H. I'm here to present again another package of our Daybreak Nigeria, our breakfast show. I have two gentlemen here to discuss the issues. One is a regular on this program, Martin Sori. Martin Sori is a publisher. Martin, you are welcome to our program.
Afam, thank you very much.
Okay, and next to him is Prince McDonald Enwere, a renowned media practitioner and public opinion analyst. McDonald, you are welcome to our program.
Thank you very much.
Please remember to like our Facebook page and subscribe to our YouTube platform. Gentlemen, today is Democracy Day, and Nigeria is celebrating democracy. I'm sure we all understand what it symbolizes. Democracy, we used to host the events on the May 29 until the government of President Muhammadu Buhari, the outgoing administration, moved this to June 12th to commemorate the death of Abiola, the symbol of democracy. Now, Martins, for you, I don't know, we've done 24 years from 1999 to date. So what do you think stands out for these periods, assessing 24 years of democracy? What do you think we should be celebrating?
Well, to start with, I don't quite agree with the federal government that June 12th is a democracy day in the first instance, because what happened on June 12, 1993, and thereafter was just a colossal distortion of Nigeria's history and facts. How? Because the election that brought the election we celebrate as the fairest and the freest in Nigeria's history was not. It was inconclusive. It was not announced. Out of the then 30 states, then only 13 results reached Abuja, as annoued by the former electoral national body, Professor. What is his name? Only 13 states were released out of 30. It was not even up to half. That's point number one. Point number two, don't forget that before that June 12th, around June 9, Aton Zeribe went to court and stopped the election from being held, and it was granted. Rather than what is the name of that prof? The professor. Why is it that Humphrey Nwosu, Professor Humphrey Nwosu, rather than Professor Humphrey Nwosu going to appeal from that June 9 to June 12, there was still spaces. So rather than him going to court to appeal the injunction given to Aton Zeribe, he turned himself to be a court, interpreting that based on Decree 53 of 1991, that no institution ought to stop him from. That is not true. So what I'm saying in effect is that the June 12th day we celebrate today as a democracy day does not really qualify to be a democracy day in my own thinking. Number 3. Abiola, on whose symbolism we are celebrating Democracy Day, we should have taken that Democracy Day to his birthday to show that was what actually happened. Because what happened on June 12th, me as a person do not take it as really in a democracy. It was just because of the people who love Abiola, as now President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and the person he brought to rule Nigeria from 2015 to 2023 actually agreed to make June 12th a democracy. To me, there is nothing unique about it, because one, the election was inconclusive. The election was a sabotage to what is supposed to represent, which is a disregard to court order. The election was not announced. No person was announced as a winner of that election. So what are we celebrating?
Okay, yeah, Martin, you have your point. That is personal to you. But the federal government thinks otherwise. You see, that was an election. What is significant about that election is not what the announcement of the results. For me, and for many others, it is the conduct of the election. That is why it is adjudged as the freest and fairest election. Because Nigerians all over the world, everybody in one voice spoke. And don't forget, that election was an election where two Muslims ran as president, Alhaji Tofa, and then Abiola himself. And don't forget again, there were no issues, you know, and then whether the result was released or not is inconsequential.
I disagree with you that there was no issues. Before that election, there was an Association for Better Nigeria. That was wait. I'm coming. You see, the thing is that we tend to forget so many things. No. Wait now. We are enlightening people. Okay. We want people to know. Don't say that there was no issues. There was
that made the election affecting the
no. Listen. There were things that Atom Zeribe, a major stakeholder, a critical stakeholder of Social Democratic Party, went to court and said that, look, I'm not satisfied the way this election was going to be held. There are things I want us to be resolved. He stated it. Number one, in conjunction with Ojukwu, they said, I just want to mention one, that you people have shared offices. Which one are you bringing to the Igbo nation? It was Ojukwu who said that, look, the secretary to the government you are trying to present to us does not make meaning to us. Ojukwu said secretaryship is somebody who shall stay in the office. There are so many other issues raging. You understand? So what I want us to understand is that don't say there was no issue. ABM, Association for Better Nigeria, never won the and it has a following. You understand? What I'm saying in effect is that, mind you, when Jonathan wanted to honor Abiola and this June 12th and named University of Lagos as Abiola university. This time Tinubu went against it. This time Tinubu still went against it. You understand? So all these things they are saying is just maybe they want us to do as right, so that we don't see the facts from the left hand side. The impression I want to correct from what you're saying is that there was no issue. There were so many issues. There were so many issues arising from June 12th that they don't want to talk about again. They're only talking. And you're talking about the late on Abiola pairing with not Tofa, pairing with the former who later became secretary. I don't know why I'm forgetting their names like that. Was this King Gibe in a tribal, multi-racial, multi-religious state like that? Are we supposed to have it? Is it not the same thing we are complaining today of Tinubu pairing with Shetima? Was it right to have done so? Yes. That it worked out, that an armed robber came here, looted this place and they went free, no person caught it. Does it make it right? That it succeeded, did it make it right? Yeah. Something that happened in 1993 and today we are still fighting against it. Is this supposed to be a credible thing? Yes. That's the issue.
What I'm trying to say is, you see, the democracy there was instituted, according to President Muhammadu Buhari, to heal the wounds of June 12th. So whether or not you say you are in agreement or you are not in agreement.
No, as an analyst, I'm telling you, even that day Buhari did that thing, we also ask questions. What of the Igbo man, Professor Humphrey Nwosu, who held under gunpoint, that insisted that that election was why was he not honored? Okay. These are the issues.
Okay, so these are facts you can bring again up into the public space for the federal government to look at. Okay, so let's move on. McDonald, so I don't know for you what is significant about the past 24 years for us we are celebrating today.
Oh, okay. The truth of the matter is that you see, democracy in Nigeria to me is a process, and it has also come to stay. And if you look at from a historical, point of view and perspective, you know that democracy is it has taken a global dimension, and it is something the whole world. It is something that is craving, within the global space. And I'm also happy that Nigeria is also trying to align itself, towards the process of, the democratization. Within this space of 24 years, from my own assessment, I think we are not doing well. And I can authoritatively say that Nigeria is still, the democratic process in Nigeria is still at the nascent stage. The reason being that the world, the democracy, is all about inclusivity, it's all about participatory, and it's all about passion and service to the people. The people must be placed at the center of democratic culture. These are the precedent, these are the indices. Now, if the people who are supposed to be placed at the center of democratic culture are submerged, outside the center of democracy, that will not translate to democracy. What is happening in Nigeria today, to me, is a distortion. It is an aberration. It's a bastardization of what democracy ought to be. If you look at it generally, when you talk about democracy, you talk about, like I say, it is participatory. It is all about the process of protecting the interests of the people, electing the leaders, and also the functionality of other institutions in democracy. You ask yourself, these institutions, are they functional in Nigeria? You ask yourself, the processes that lead to democratization, are we following or are we meeting up? The answer is no. So the summary of what I'm saying is that democracy in Nigeria is still at the nascent stage. It's still on the process, and we still have a long way to go, towards ensuring that we achieve the aim and objective of democracy.
Thank you so much. Your point is very well noted. Martins, now he said we are not doing well, in our democratic process. It's still at a very nascent stage, even after 24 years. So I don't know, for you, how will you assess the journey so far? Are we actually realizing the benefits of democracy, what it is expected to deliver? So what is your own opinion?
I totally agree with Prince MacDonald in 100%, with just a little adjustment that is not even at the nascent stage. We have gone out of the nascency of the stage. The only thing is that is a growth without development. When you start a school or a church or on a business, year 1, year 2, and you are having 40 students, after 5 years you're having 100 students, that's just a growth. It's not a development. The development is when the students you are bringing out of that school you impacted positively on them. But in the case of Nigeria, as you said, nothing works. In fact, at Eagle Square in 1999, journalists asked Professor Chinua Achebe how was his, because he was invited for the inauguration of President Olusegun Obasanjo. They asked him how did he feel. He was on a wheelchair. He was looking at the gate. He said Nigeria had just started a race, and there is a referee, an umpire, who has blown his whistle. Whether Nigeria is going to run to finish the race, or whether Nigeria will reverse and go back to where it was coming from, which is completely out of the track, it remains to be seen. Frankly, Nigeria is not on the track. Nigeria is not in any race. As he said, which institution in Nigeria is working? None is working. All the institutions have completely collapsed. In fact, Nigeria was even better managed in every aspect of governance when the military were here than now. How? Because in the days of the military, you have the campaign for democracy, you had NADECO, you had civil rights organizations, lawyers were alive. Today, the courts, in fact, the judiciary, you can't even know where the judiciary is. The judiciary will, in the case of making heading of PDP and Imo State and the Supreme Court said it cannot reverse or review its own judgment. When the same particular case was brought up by GTB and Innocent, the same Supreme Court that said it has no power to reverse itself went and reversed its judgment it earlier gave to Innocent and reversed it in favor of GTB. These are all abracadabra. They are all aberrations. You go to the academic institutions. Look at as if we were in the military era. The last strike by ASU, unresolved up till now. They just managed to went back to the classrooms. There's something he said about democratization, growth. Look at the last elections, the presidential election and the National Assembly election organized on February 25th. Look at what happened at the INEC National Collection Center in Abuja. People were asking INEC in questions, which they never answered. You told us that you are going to transmit electronically. You are going to use a BVAS. INEC could not answer. Look at what happened in Imo State on March 18th during the State of Assembly elections. For the very first time in the history of Nigeria, I saw police, I saw security men of all groups being used to manipulate the process of election. So there's no development. In fact, the election of 1999 was more respectable, was more mannerly organized than the one we had in Nigeria on February 25th and March 18th. So far, it is a delinquent adult that we are having.
A delinquent adult indeed. Okay, so let me get back to you, McDonald. Now, you listen to Martins, and both of you agree that it is like a motion without movement. Now, how would you look at the doctrine of separation of powers? Because if you check the three arms of government on which the democracy should be governed or run on, you discover that one arm of the government appears to wield more powers than the others, and sometimes people believe their actions, their activities are so reckless, that you begin to wonder if actually we practice democracy. Some describe it as a civilian dictatorship or something like that. People have their different views, and that will imply that there is not the doctrine of separation of power. So how would you look at it?
You see, the framers of the concepts of the concept of democracy, I know that before now they envisaged the importance and the imperative of having this principle of separation of power, which is one of the beauties of democracy. Now, when I said earlier that the foundation and the institutions of democracy in Nigeria are not working, you will now agree with me that one of the ideals and principle of democracy is this separation of power. You ask yourself, how far has it come in Nigeria? You see, when I say that democracy is at the nascent stage, there is retrogression. There is retrogression in the process, and if a concept, or if you have a process and you observe retrogression, you know that process is not working. In a real demographic concept and setting, Nigeria have fallen short. If you take Nigeria in perspective, you believe that Nigeria have fallen below standard of what democracy ought to be. If you talk about separation of power, the framers clearly defined what separation of power is. There is also a synergy between the three arms of government, the executive, the judiciary, and the legislature. But in Nigeria, you will discover that a particular arm of government has overshadowed the functionality and function of all others. See what is happening in the National Assembly today. In a real democracy, you cannot see a ruling party dictating the election or the principal officers of a legislature. Is not happening anywhere in the world. You can do that as a ruling party. That is your own internal arrangement. Other political parties can do that. That should be their own internal arrangement. But the ruling party should not, for any reason, lob it and rub it on the face of Nigerians, to the point of raising it as an intimidation to other members-elect. That is not democracy. That is intimidation. A ruling party will sit somewhere in their comfort zone and decide who is going to be the Senate President, and decide who is going to be the Speaker of the House of Representatives, and decide other principal positions in the National Assembly. And you think that we are practicing democracy. That is not democracy. If you follow what has been happened since the removal of a CBN governor, you ask yourself, do we have a National Assembly? What are the process of removing a CBN governor? Was the process properly met? So you see that, I think at a point now, the senators have come to realize that they had been at a point being used and dumped and be considered as a spare tire, as a rubber stamp. So the truth and the summary of the whole thing is that, you see, the political players, our leaders, have ended up who's supposed to be the harbinger and those that will build a very functional and varied democracy. They have allowed themselves to be used as an instrument of destruction, an instrument of bastardization to the process of this democracy in Nigeria. It is a shame. And our prayer, we know that in every process, in every concept, there are challenges. Yes, you can't rule it out. But what is happening in Nigeria today, to me, is not a challenge. It is an aberration. It is a colossal destruction that is happening in our democratic concept.
Thank you so much. Martin, let me narrow this question to the government of President Muhammadu Buhari. What do you think Ndigo should remember Buhari for? It's 8 years.
You see, let me tell you, Buhari, as long as I'm concerned, was around the second civil war. That was what one publisher in Imo State, Samuel Owamodo, said, and I totally agreed with him.
Okay, you are saying, if I get you right, you are summing up Buhari's tenure
as a war,
as another
civil war declared on him. What do I mean? My brother, I had never seen anything like Muhammadu Buhari before, either in Nigeria or elsewhere. This was Muhammadu Buhari who came in his first trip outside Nigeria, in New York, said that he had come to govern Nigeria on the basis of 95% for those who voted for him and 5% for those who didn't vote for him. And that was what he did in his 8-year tenure. First and foremost, when we were just joking outside the screens, I told them that Muhammadu Buhari's biggest project, scheme in Nigeria was the railway project in Nigeria.
But he didn't originate it.
No. Government is a continuum, and it was where he spent his billions. It was the biggest. Yeah. Not one rail, not one crisscrossed southeast. Muhammadu Buhari had 16 security chiefs. Not one of them came from the southeast. Muhammadu Buhari in 8 years built 7 federal universities. Not one was considered enough good for the people of the southeast. Muhammadu Buhari promoted 17 senior workers to directorate, to the directorship level at the NPC. Not one Igbo man, not one southeasterner, made it. Go and look at. He had around 3 chief of army staffs. Not one was an Igbo. He had 3. So what factor again? It was during the time of Muhammadu Buhari that we had Operation Ebueke or Python Dance. In Aba, you know how many youths that got killed. So in all, I agree with Samuel Owamodo totally that Muhammadu Buhari's administration was a second civil war declared on the people of Southeast in civilian manner. That is the simple truth.
Okay, McDonald, you heard him very well. Do you have any opinion on what he said?
I think I align myself totally with his position. You see, the 8-year tenure of President Muhammadu Buhari, it was a strategy. It was a plot to totally deflect, to strangulate, and to annihilate the people of Southeast. Look at all the hope policies by that administration. Look at all the infrastructural siting and developments, in that administration. No one, the Southeasterners were not considered. If you also look at the number of people that were murdered and massacred, you will know that you get a great number of Igbo people and Southeasterners that were killed on the process during the tenure of President Muhammadu Buhari. So you look at it, you will know that within that period, the Igbo people were crying. They were shedding tears, shedding blood-filled tears throughout the 8-year tenure of President Muhammadu Buhari. And to me, it calls for sober reflection. It is also a lesson for this present administration. This is an opportunity for them to cast their mind back and see what the Igbo suffered in the hands of Buhari's administration. It is also a lesson for the present administration led by President Ahmed Tinubu to either repeat what Buhari did or to learn a lesson and to put Igbo in their right place of position in his administration.
Okay, before we draw the curtain, let me ask this question. There is this issue that has been trending in the state over the state government conceived a program, what they called a welfare scheme, an effort to improve the welfare of Imo people by instituting what they call Imo State Security Benefit Number, by asking people to provide some of their personal information, BVN, PVC. This has attracted some controversy. People are believing that is government attempts to rig the 2023 election. And I don't know what are your thoughts, Martin, on this issue, because it's creating some ripples here and there.
You see, whenever you hear the name Inseta, whenever there is a certain thing that goes to your thought or mind, whenever you hear Judas Iscariot, there are certain things that go into your mind. But if you hear love, or if you hear Peter or James or Udochukwu, they connote other things. So what I want to say is that whenever this administration in Imo State, as headed by Governor Hope Uzodimma, does anything, Imo people are afraid. Imo people are very skeptical about it because of the manner and way he has been saying things. This was an Uzodimma who came and told us few days after he was sworn in on January 15, 2020, that he had been saving 2 billion naira every month for Imo people, and that at the right time he was going to use it to provide the infrastructure. Whereas if you multiply 2 billion naira since January 2022 now, that should be amount to how many millions? This is also Uzodimma who came to tell us that he had started a rabbit industry for Imo. I want to do Afam. Do you know, Prince? Do you know where that rabbit even? Do we do rabbit farming in Imo State? Of what economic importance is that rabbit farm? This is the same Uzodimma who came to tell us that he was going to give how many 202 million, how many 250 youths. Empowerment scheme. I don't know whether in your community you are a youth leader, you are a political activist. In your ward, I don't know whether you know of any person who had got that loan. So what I'm saying in effect is that many other states like Kaduna, in fact, in the whole of Southeast, they have the other 4 states in the Southeast have that. Yes, they have it. Yes. But I don't think that any one of them, required or requested for BVN and PVCs. They didn't do it. So why requesting for this? Critical, sensitive materials of information. That is where the problem is coming from. At the end of the day, it's supposed to be data. We have been talking that the problem with Nigeria as far as pursuing insecurity is concerned is that we don't have intelligence. This thing is supposed to form a sort of intelligence on a data to a particular location. It is a very good idea, but ideas themselves are not enough. The intention is what matters. Up to now, it's not easy to convince me that project is for the welfare of Imo citizenry. It is very difficult to convince me otherwise.
Okay. Yeah, he said intentions matter. So, Prince, what do you have to say?
I think,
as your parting words, because we are running.
I think the problem is there is a disconnect between the Imolites and this present administration. Well, I don't know, I may not know the reason, but the truth of the matter is that average Imolites, doesn't have this trust in this present administration. That is the problem. And when any administration is battling, with the problem of trust, yes, is struggling with legitimacy and acceptance, that is the offshoot. The offshoot is all these things you are seeing. Whatever program and policy government brings to the table, the people will also begin to question it, and it causes ripple. Whether it is a good one, whether it is not is a bad one, it generates concern. That is the problem. So whatever policy this present administration brings out present to the public will say no, it is doubtful. Just like Ori said, this social package, I am aware, is in other places and other states too. But the condition precedent shouldn't be your PVC, your BVN number, and some other private information details of individuals. No, and it don't need. You see, government has a way of getting these informations. Government also has a way of arranging and packaging a very social standard, social welfare for the people. You don't need without all these, without all this creating this suspicion and the panic in the society. Well, my parting word is this. I want to use this opportunity to, felicitate with Nigerians as we celebrate Democracy Day today. Today it calls for sober reflection. It is an opportunity for us to reflect back and look at some of on the commitments and the unwavering resolve where Nigerians have taken towards building a very strong and virile democracy. So I want to use this opportunity to encourage and to advise this present administration. Yeah, this is a very new administration, to also make sure that they look inwards and also work towards building a very strong and formidable democracy in Nigeria.
Thank you so much. Martin, did you have a parting word? Just 1 second.
Well, my parting word is that I'm yet to be convinced that June 12th is a democracy day. There's nothing to ascertain that, as long as I'm concerned. I'm not going contrary to what the federal government is saying, but I wish Nigeria well.
Gentlemen, viewers, gentlemen, this is where we draw the curtain. Martin, thanks for coming to the program.
Thank you very much, Afam, and we wish all our viewers very good Democracy Day according to the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and to like our page.
Okay, Madonna.
Thank you very much for having me.
Viewers, this is where we draw the curtain, and you have heard it all from our guests. They've told us that we're not doing well in the past 24 years as far as democratic process is concerned. It's more like a motion without movement. And we also heard that Nigeria has fallen below the standard of what a democracy should represent. And one of our guests disagreed seriously that the ruling party saw it as an aberration, that the ruling party should be dictating who should govern us at the National Assembly, meaning that there is no separation of power. They are not independent. And we also heard that President Muhammadu Buhari's 8-year tenure represented another civil war in Nigeria, as far as Igbo is concerned. On this note, we draw the curtain and say, please continue to like our Facebook page and remember to subscribe to our YouTube platform. My name again is Afam Echi.